Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of From the Fourth Line. I'm your host, Emma, and I'm joined, one of your hosts. I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, Marcie.
Hello.
So before we start talking about the Leafs and everything like that, I just wanted to open the show up with something. So I'm sure if you exist on Twitter today, this morning, you saw that Sick Kids put out a promotion starring Austin Matthews, Ryan Reynolds, and Michael Bublé, talking about their holiday donation campaign. So if you donate to Sick Kids before December 24th, 2023, so this year, Samsung Canada will match all donations up to $100,000. We're going to put the link in the show notes of their episode or to the directly to Sick Kids donation page. It'll also probably be in the tweet on our Twitter with this episode when we put that out. And also you can find it on the Sick Kids socials. So we just wanted to spread awareness to this just because Sick Kids has a personal connection to the show. I've had experience with Sick Kids. I've gone there from the age of 4 to 13 at least once a year. I've had 2 surgeries with them as well. They're great. The doctors and the rest of the medical staff there at Sick Kids are fantastic, and they provide top tier medical care for children across Canada. I've also had family friends who have had really long extended stays with Sick Kids in hospital getting treatment. So just even if you can't, because I know cost of living is so high right now, even if you can't donate money, just even sharing the donation link online is a huge help. So that's just what we want to say off the top of the show. But now let's talk about the Leafs and their crazy long two games. We'll put it that way. Long 2 games. Both games went to overtime that we've had since the last episode. So we'll talk about Seattle, and then we'll talk about Boston, and then we'll go on to talking about other things. So Joseph Woll starts versus Seattle again. And also that puts Bobby McMahon was on the 4th line as well.
Yes.
Out for Ryan Reeves, which now we're going to talk a little bit more about Ryan Reeves when we talk about the Boston game, because he did play in that game and I have opinions. But a note is Mitch Marner went to the full bubble for the game. So I don't, Bubble Boy, you probably saw him struggle with his mouth guard. That clip ended up everywhere of him struggling to get his mouth guard out of the bubble. I was like, oh, been there. Just at that point, you just take the shield off, snap the shield off. But Sheldon Keefe was still also sticking with those top 2 lines from Tuesday versus Florida with Nylander on the top line with Matthews and Knies. Matthews and Knies, not Matthew. I mean, both words. But I do think that it's working. That top line still looking iffy. In this game, yes, we'll talk about how it kind of wasn't versus Boston. But we're so game. I think the Leafs penalty kill has been really great. I think they've been good. They've been really good, which is something we never used to say about Leafs penalty kill. I feel like that was always a weak point for them, especially last year. I don't have the stats to, back it up, but they kill off a penalty against McCabe for a knee-on-knee with, of course, Leafs legend Jared McCann. You have literally every game, and you look at the lineup and you're like, which of these guys are former Leafs? We say in quotations with Jared McCann. He never actually, he was a Leaf for all of 3 days before claimed in the expansion draft by Seattle, because I love to I know I'm going to remind Marcie of this because everyone on Twitter was talking about it. Was Jared, Leafs chose to protect Justin Hall and Alex Kerfoot over Jared McCann.
And I stand by that decision.
Neither of them are with the team anymore. That's why you're sitting there and you're like, Jesus. But Marner scores on the power play, assisted by Nylander and Matthews. He breaks his scoreless streak. I believe he was on a scoreless streak. And Tavares does some good some good work on that play to getting the puck out to some open space and allowing those three to do what they do best, which is score goals. But yeah, so I did actually write a note of my first. I never really do this, but I was like, I don't really have a lot to say on the first period besides there was a lot of good chances for them, and the special teams, like, so your power play and your penalty kill were pretty solid. And then Joseph Woll again, just stellar performance by Joseph Woll.
He's just been absolutely insane recently, and I'm so here for it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I have like stats when we talk about the Boston game to go over about just how well he's been playing for the Leafs right now. Mm-hmm. But yeah, and then second period, Mitch Marner makes it 2.
Bubble bitch strikes again.
Bubble bitch.
That's because my friend came around to watch, and we were literally sat just going, "Go on, Bubble bitch, score," and we were being so mean to him. It was brilliant.
Yeah, I did say we're never getting rid of the fishbowl is in my notes. And that's also his 21st multi-goal game of his career. Oh, and then because the Leafs are the Leafs legend, Jared McCann scores to make it 2-1. Yeah, and this is where I did write down in my notes, Hull was protected over Jared McCann. Like, yeah. Yeah. Also I said RIP Woll shutout. And I just want a Woll shutout this season so I can feel the joy that I felt November 22nd, 2021. That was 2 years ago. I miss that day. And I want to go back.
Like, it's like
so badly.
Literally before every single game, like when the suit pics drop, I'm like, I messaged the group chat and I'm like, I'd send the picture and I'm like, guys, this is a short suit. And then it's not. No. And it's one day soon.
Yeah.
Like, I can't even be like, oh, I want a shout out for my birthday because my birthday's in fucking September.
I mean, I could have said it for my birthday, but my birthday was like 3 weeks ago, so my birthday's already passed.
For Christmas.
I think they play the 23rd is their last game, I think, before Christmas break. But yeah, 2 nights of bad turn. Nylander had a bad turnover at that play. He's been a little bit rough since they've gotten back from Sweden. Mm-hmm. But, fingers crossed. And then Mitch Marner with a fucking hat trick.
Oh my god.
With an assist from McCabe. Like, just way to go. Throw the hats onto the ice. That was my hat gesture. Yeah, and then I just have then my next note, because it's the Leafs. What the fuck play by the Leafs in the neutral zone for Tolvanen to make it 3-2? Just bad.
Yeah. Not
And
brilliant.
then I wonder if someone knows exactly how many penalties Knives has taken for just like being large, because
God forbid he has a fat ass.
Like, I can't like he's apologies that he's a large man, like he's big, like
literally, like he just it's like every single game he's just like jail reason too big.
too like I'm like,
too large.
Yeah, I wonder if there's like a stat for that. I'm sure it's probably most of his penalties at this point through the season, because I can't even remember taking him any others besides like interference.
Yeah.
And it's like he's apologies, he's too big. Like maybe the other players shouldn't run into him. And then because because it's like 10 times worse, because he never actually played for the Leafs, but he was a part of the Leafs organization for all of 3 days. Jared McCann ties it up. And the narratives just don't, So, and then we go to overtime, because Leafs really like playing 65 minutes of hockey.
Oh, yeah. They go, what's going to be really good for Emma and Marcie's hearts? A fucking overtime.
Oh yeah, no, it's like not bad enough that, I've got genetic predisposal to heart disease. We're just gonna make it 10 times worse by having
Let's just kill him off.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I also have Joseph Wool again is owed a dinner from this team because he's what kept the team in this game, and it's a common thread through all of his past starts that he's been the reason maybe he allows a goal, but he's the reason why the other team can't get the next goal, right? And it's just,
if they don't take him out for like the fanciest, most expensive steak dinner,
give him a nice steak dinner,
big bottle of red wine.
Oh, yeah. I know if they need recommendations for very expensive steakhouses in Toronto, I'm sure I can find a list and provide it to them. Or if they're going to do it while they're here in Ottawa, I also have a list of really nice steakhouses for them here in Ottawa. Exactly. So there's one on Elgin Street with a really good lobster mac and cheese. If they want. But yeah, that's for the 4th time in the last 5, and also the 10th game this season that goes to overtime. I just say, what is this team doing? I don't know. There's a missed pass from Nylander and a spiraling half blocked by McKay. I know this is I don't know what Sheldon Keefe is thinking when he plays McCabe in overtime, and I know it's because he's dealing with some injuries and things like that. And he's kind of short on defensemen to play, especially with Giordano out.
Yeah.
But surely there's someone else you can do besides McCabe. You've got 6 defensemen. Find one. I don't know. Can you do Connor Timmins? Can Connor Timmins do it? I don't know. Benoit hasn't been half bad when he's out there in overtime.
He's been quite good. He's surprised me.
Yeah.
I've been impressed.
Oh yeah. It's hard because we didn't really see him from haven't really seen Timmins for most of the season. Most of the season he was hurt in preseason against Detroit, but yeah. And then I just say now this is my notes before I have the shootout stuff here, because spoiler alert, we go to a shootout. I just have all caps Joseph Wool and then lackluster Nylander in lowercase. In my
I'm not being funny, but if I was Nylander and I saw you'd written that. Announcing my retirement.
Yeah, so shootout time again. Yeah, first round, no one scores. Matthews scores again in the shootout for the 2nd game in a row. And then Marner with the overtime winner. Well, not with the shootout winner with the bubble. So, I also have a fun little stat that is going to make little Mitch Marner so very proud. Mitch Marner becomes the 5th highest Leaf in with number of 3-point games, including playoffs, in franchise history with 55, putting him behind Daryl Sittler, Matt Sundin, David Keon, and Doug Gilmour. And he's within 1 of tying Gilmour, and then within 2 of passing Gilmour and tying Keon. So, and I read off that list of names, and they are all Leafs icons, right? I'm pretty sure. Does Daryl Sittler? I think they all have their number retired. I know Sundin does. Does Sittler have his number retired? I don't know. I should know this. They have so many retired. I was just looking at that little chart on the Leafs Wikipedia. It's on the Leafs Wikipedia if you want to. But yeah, just sure, a lot of people are oh, he hasn't been playing great recently, but you also have to think about he's still a good player, and he's still teams are up and down. So here we go, retired numbers. So there's where's the chart? There we go. Sending. Yes, he does. 27 for him, and 27's retired for him and Frank Mahovlich. Yeah, so all 5 of those guys have their numbers retired. So sometimes I think about 34 and 16 getting retired, no, because then I also think about the fact that Marner wore 93 in juniors because of Doug Gilmour, but then when he came to the Leafs, he had to change to 16 because 93 was retired for Doug Gilmour. And then his number's gonna retire, and there's probably some kid out in juniors right now wearing the number 16 for Mitch Marner because they grew up watching. I can.
You can have me crying on the podcast. Oh, then
Yeah,
like just
there
thinking
it
about
is.
that, and then thinking of like that one clip of like little baby Mick.
Oh my god. What's your favorite hockey team? The Toronto Maple. Oh. Anyways, as you can see, me and Marcie are very normal about this team.
So normal.
How normal.
We've never
like,
been more normal about anything.
The narratives really, but yeah, also Joseph Wool once again saved the team.
Surprise.
Surprise.
It's like a daily thing now. It's just, what's Joseph Wool doing right now? Saving the team.
Yeah, so I'm gonna bring this stat up again when we talk about Boston, but 30 plus shots, 4 games in a row. The first time in his career that it's also the first time he's played probably like 4 games in a row.
Yeah.
Well, 5, because he plays, spoiler alert, he started against Boston. Now let's talk about Boston's game.
Ooh, Boston.
Joseph Wool starts versus Linus Ullmark. So it's very much this was a goalie battle. I'm gonna yes, it was also an offensive. Like both teams are very good. We're gonna say like the Boston Bruins again, very good. Why are they still good? Like I am waiting so patiently for the Boston Bruins to not be good, and I never get it. So honestly, if you asked me back in September if I was like who might miss the playoffs in the East, in the Atlantic, I should say, I would have told you Boston Bruins. And now I might say the Leafs because there's a very fun David Alter tweet I want to bring up just a little bit. But yeah, Samsonov is out with illness. Martin Jones is called up on emergency basis. So Joseph Woll, like maybe Samsonov would have been given the start. We did talk about that last episode. Like maybe it would have gone to Samsonov. Yeah. But he's out with an illness. He's still out. He was not at practice yesterday. We'll talk about that a little bit more. There seems to be a bug going around. But Reeves in on the 4th line for McMahon because McMahon and Matt Lajoie were assigned to the minors on Friday, and they've yet to be called up again. Marner again with the fishbowl in today's game, and it was also Noah Gregor's 200th game. Yay! So that's all the stats going in, but like Ryan Reeves played a grand total of 5 minutes and 57 seconds of ice time.
Yeah.
He was benched with 6 minutes left in the second period. I don't know if that's a new record for him and like how soon he gets benched in a game, but like if you're going to put Reeves in to play the big bad Boston Bruins and, you know, show them up for what happened last time they played them with Liljegren, like
it's like if you're going to play him, commit to it. Actually play it. Because like I'm not being funny, but if you're gonna bench him before the end of the second, fucking just bring McMahon back.
No, like
he was McMahon was working so well, and then it's like, oh no, bye, fuck off, see you later. Like we'll put someone that we're gonna have playing less than 6 minutes. Problem solved.
Yeah, less than 6 minutes. Like I just have to think though. I'm like, what is Sheldon Keefe? Like, I want to know what goes through Sheldon Keefe's brain when he puts Ryan Reeves into the lineup. But like, because if you're gonna play Reeves for his physicality, he also has to be physical, and he hasn't been. Like, minus the first 2 games of the season, he's just not been physical for this team, and he's not been playing.
He's been letting people push him around.
He's been letting
that's not what we've brought him here for. We've brought him here to do the pushing, not to be pushed.
No, exactly. And like at this point I'm like, so what's the point? Like a lot of people are gonna be like, well, he brings a lot to the locker room. I'm like, I'm sure a lot of these guys bring a lot to the locker room.
Exactly.
At the end of the day, locker room dynamics don't have a column on the standings. Like they don't earn you any points in the standings. Wins do. And if you're not going to play if you're going to put Reeves in the lineup and then you're not going to play him in tight games, which I feel like everyone knew that Boston and Toronto is going to be a tight game. It's always like both of these teams are good. Like we're not saying the Leafs are bad. The Leafs they've been good.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say like it's not, you knew it wasn't, the odds are it wasn't going to be a total blowout. So if you knew there's a chance that it's going to be a close game, why are you putting Reeves in when you know you're not going to play him if it is going to be a close game?
Exactly.
So I'm like, whatever. Like, I know they probably like, man, there's Cap, Finagle, whatever, and maybe they don't want a chance having him go on to waivers. Who knows? Would he clear waiver? Like, I mean, Wayne Simmons wasn't cleared waivers when he was put on waivers last year. There was that happens. So anyways, I also have, like, I know we were just talking about how good special teams have looked. That second shift on the power play for the Leafs in the first period specifically, that looked bad. That looked bad. Now that we're talking about the actual game, but then Pasternak goes top shelf to make it 1-0. I do have, should Wool have had that as a question in my notes. I don't.
It was
You would have liked him to have that one, but at the end of the day, you can't. You know what I mean? Like, it's like
you can't get everyone.
Yeah, you can't.
It was doable, and he probably should have had it, but you can't.
You can't fault him for not.
Like.
Yeah. And then Kevin Shattenkirk 2-0. Of course, because it's against the Leafs. It's his first of the season and first with the Boston Bruins.
Obviously.
Again, because Pasternak is just that good. Stellar pass on the play by Pasternak.
It was a really good goal.
Yeah. It's like, that's the thing. I'm like sitting there, I was like, that's a good one. Oh, it always sucks when there's a good one and you're like, against your team and you're like, shit.
Yeah.
And then Austin Matthews makes it 2-1, and the Leafs are back in it, right? Like, it goes quickly from it being 2-0 to being like, oh no, to being 2-1, and you're like, oh, we're in it now. We're back in it.
Yeah.
Nylander in front to tie up Ullmark. This is really a prime example of why the Leafs should be getting to the net and being in the net and having net front presence when they're in the offensive zone, like when they're in the O zone, because like Nylander is there. It's a shot on net by Nyes into the zone. Nylander is there in front of the net, ties up Ullmark, off the rebound, Austin Matthews, and he is so sneaky. Like, he's 6'3", 200 pounds, and he's able to just sneak up the side without anyone noticing.
Like, don't mind me.
Like, sneaking up behind and around off the side, and is there to just literally be right there, and you're like, how did no one see him? He's 6'3", 200 pounds. I don't think is he exactly 200 pounds? I don't know. Anyways. But it's like, he's also Austin Matthews, too.
Yeah. Like,
right? Like, you should just know where he is on the ice, because he's Austin. Like, he's dangerous all the time. But there's been so many goals like that for Matthews where he's sneaking up on the side and then he's right there and has it, and it's gorgeous. But yeah, and then Max Domi, the one we've been waiting for, his first as a Leaf and his first of the season. And like, a lot of people have been saying like, oh, he hasn't been scoring goals. I'm like, yeah, but he has 11 points. He had 11 assists going into that game. So it's not bad. Right? Like, it's not like he hasn't been producing. He just hasn't been scoring. There's a difference. But Max Domi, his first on the Leafs, the gorgeous 2-on-1 with Robertson. Robertson dictated that play. Whoa. He was the mastermind behind that play, and it was gorgeous. It was gorgeous. So you have to give praise to both Domi and Robertson for that one.
Oh, yeah.
Literally, just a fun little stat, because Max Domi, to tie it, yeah. Marcie's so upset with me right now. Marcie's, because there's no video for this, but Marcie's shaking her head. She had her head in her hand.
That just about wraps up today's episode.
If we lived in the same, like, on the same continent, she would find a way to strangle me right now for that one.
Yeah.
But so 6,454 days after Ty Domi's last goal with the Toronto Maple Leafs, Max Domi scores his first. That's a fun little stat.
Love that.
Yeah. And then I also have a note, like, I wrote this after that goal, but quiet but solid game from Wool. Like, he's been, like, you hadn't seen, now, there was a couple of really outrageous saves later that we'll talk about, but so far it's been quiet from, like, he's a very quiet goalie to watch in terms of the fact that he is very deliberate with his movements and the fact that, like, he's not a Jack Campbell kind of way where he's got, like, those big over-exaggerated movements going from post to post, that sort of thing, where he's very deliberate about the way he moves within the crease. And then I also have this, just to kind of break up the fact that we're then going to talk about some narratives and things like that. Simon Benoit's hair is my new favorite main character. I don't know if you saw the replay of the Dobie celebration. He's got, like, his little hair peeking out of the vents in his helmet. And so I'm like, and then also when they did their team picture in Sweden, his hair, like, he was like, I tried to control it. There was, I think it was in the article from The Athletic. It was, like, all over the place. That his hair was manic in that picture, in that team picture. But he was like, there was an article from The Athletic that kind of broke down their trip to Sweden, that sort of thing, and the off-ice stuff they got up to. And he was like, yeah, I tried to control it, tried to, like, you know, brush it down. I really should have just run it under some water before we took the picture or anything, because it literally was all over the place. And I just love that. I was like, I
love him so much.
I know, like, he's such a, like, you know, he's been playing really well and he's deserved to stay up, you know, with the Leafs while they go through, you know, another November and December with injuries on the blue line. I feel like this happens every single year. I swear to God. We went through this last year. We're going through this again this year. It's always going to happen. But yeah, it just was, like, sticking up through his hair vents. And it reminded me, because then he also has, like, the neck guard on as well. So it just reminds me of, like, when I'm in kids ski racing and they've got, like, the hair shooting out of their helmet and, like, out between their goggles and their helmet. And they've got, like, the neck warmer and everything. Like,
no, every single time I see him on the ice and he's got his, like, little neck guard on, I'm like, what? He looks so good with it. It's so, like, he just, like, he's serving.
Yeah.
Absolute looks. And it's like, every time I see him, I'm like, he just looks really cozy.
I'm just thinking, I'm like, turtlenecks under hockey jerseys are really good looks. So maybe, like, hey guys, maybe you should be wearing net protection if you want to look cool. But then Trent Frederick, on a loose puck, behind Joseph Woll, scores to make it 3-2. There's some narratives there. Scores on his former youth and U.S. National Development Program teammate, Joseph Woll. It was a misplay by Woll, but, you know, just
not his finest.
Not his finest moment for sure. I think he definitely thought he had the puck with him, and it trickled out the back, and Frederick was there just to poke it in. But yeah, just, you know, more narratives to work with there, you know, some kid you grew up with. And he was, like, Wool was asked about that in his post game, you know, just was like that sort of thing. And of course he had the very, like, oh, you know, I'm happy for him, you know, it's good to see a guy like he grew up. And I was like, buddy, you're allowed to say that you're pissed off.
You know, like, he's too nice. I'm like I remember I messaged you before and we were like, I want a goalie fight. It's like, like, how they wouldn't fight, they'd literally just stand there, like, yelling, like, nice things at each other. They'd be like, your hair looked really good the other day.
You have really cute kids.
It's just like that back and forth, like, they're just.
I've talked to Swayman. I'm sure you give really good hugs.
And they just, like, stood there center ice, and everyone else is just stood around like, what the fuck? Can you imagine fucking Keith's reaction if he's just stood there and just watching Joseph Woll and Linus Ullmark yell nice things at each other?
But yeah, so honestly, like, yeah, Trent. I actually I was like, you know, and that's, you know, at the same time I was like, of course, you know, I should have expected Frederick to score. I have one of his playlists saved on Spotify because it's like my go-to when I'm in someone's car and they hand me the aux cord and I just need generic music to play in the car, and I play his playlist. So shout out to Trent Frederick for providing me with my go-to car aux cord playlist that I found because the only social media Joseph Bull has is a LinkedIn and a Spotify account, and I think that's very, very real of him. But yeah. Oh yeah. But yeah, then Austin fucking Matthews, man, ties it up 3-3 with like 6-7 seconds left in the period, off of a pass by Marner. Like, yeah, of course they're gonna find each other for that, you know, like, of course, you know, 16-34.
Like, the narratives just write themselves.
You know, Leafs win, if they win a cup with the Leafs, which a lot of people are like, oh, that's not gonna happen. I'm like, if they do, those numbers automatically going to the rafters. Automatically. Might as well throw up all of them up there. I don't give a you know.
The entire team.
The entire team goes up there. Who cares? Honestly, at this point, they'd have, 15 numbers to work with left.
Retire 60.
Retire 60.
After what he's fucking been put through this year. Retire 60.
Retire 60. And then we're off to OT for the 11th time this season. And then, you know, of course, because Sportsnet really just has to show it to us, puts up a graphic where it shows, you know, the stats for overtime. 50% of the games this season for the Leafs have gone to overtime. They've only played 22 games this season. And I know a lot of people are like, well, it's not a big pool. Like, they can't, like, you know, playing 41 games in overtime isn't going to be sustainable. I was like, yeah, but, like, you never know. And, like, I don't have a problem right now, because this is, of course, a conversation that exists on Twitter right now and among Leafs fans for sure, is, like, is all of their games going to overtime an issue? I don't, like, right now in November, early December, is it an issue? No, because they're, at the end of the day, if they win, they get 2 points. If they lose, they still get a point, right? So they're still having points in the standings. I do think where this becomes an issue is when it's March, April, and you're playing division rivals who are also in the hunt for the playoffs and are also trying to fight for that playoff opportunity, and you're giving up points to teams like Boston, like Florida, like Tampa, like Detroit, like whoever is going to be in that, maybe even a couple from the Metro division, you know, who are in that wild card race, wherever the Leafs find themselves in that playoff hunt in March, April. Like, if you're still giving up those points, then it becomes an issue, because at that point of the season, every point matters if you're trying to make the playoffs. And if you're playing Florida and you guys are both fighting for the same playoff spot, and, you know, you're giving them a point, you know, you still get the 2 points, you still win in overtime, whatever, you're still giving Florida a point. That still is like, it's like one step forward, 2 steps back, right? Kind of thing. Yeah. It's not ideal. And that's, you know, so maybe, you know, this could be a totally different conversation if they're still doing this in March, April. But right now, I think we just have to be happy that they're getting points, no matter which way they're getting them. If it means we get to watch 5 extra minutes of hockey a night when the Leafs play, who gives a crap? But, you know, I think also at the same time, you know, you do, like, they've won in overtime quite a bit, but I also do think, like, it's like, okay, but, you know, you have to be careful with it for sure.
It gets fair enough now, but
yeah. Leafs go with McCabe, Marner, and Kampf. Fuck. To start off overtime, I wrote this down specifically because I was like, I saw who it was to start overtime. I was like, what the fuck, Sheldon Keefe, are you actually doing? If you're
I was sad. I was like, because my friends were around again, because I like torturing them like this. And I was in the kitchen making some tea, and then I asked them, I was like, who's starting? And then they said 64, and I was like, do you want to repeat that? Like, am I hearing things right?
Yeah. Like, am I going crazy, or? Because, like, I get, okay, here's where my logic sort of, you know, I get Marner. Yeah, okay, you're starting him over. Now, because both Boston and the Leafs did the same thing, whereas, you know, you play your strong face-off guy, which for the Leafs is Kampf, right? But if you're going to play Kampf and like hope you win the face-off and then you can make a change, right?
Yeah.
That's always a gamble whenever you do that. But if you hope to play, if you're gonna play Camp, don't fucking play McCabe.
No, it's like
Don't put
you
Morgan
might as
Riley
well
out
just
there.
have 1.5 people there. Like,
Yeah. No, exactly. Like, anyways, so many questions. All of them negative.
yeah.
Then there's a crazy sequence in both ends, and then I wrote down Joseph Wool is my hero.
Yeah. That was insane for him because he saved 10 out of 11 shots in 5 minutes.
Which, by the way,
what is this man on?
This. I just saw your eyes go wide. Was that?
Oh no, my friends have just lost a quiz.
Okay. Okay, I thought, because every time I'm so nervous whenever your phone buzzes now and your eyes go, I'm like, what news have just dropped? Because this is not the first time that's happened. But yeah, just what was I talking? Joseph Wool, blah 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 blah. Oh, yeah, Boston had the most shots. The period that Boston got the most shots in was overtime. Overtime is 5 minutes long. What the fuck are we doing? What are we doing where that happens? And then Marchand scores the overtime winner with like 10 seconds left.
Of course he does.
Because of course he does. Fucking. Ugh. Yeah. Like, we're a Leafs podcast, so I'm gonna say it. Fucking, there's not a player I hate. Like, there's not a player that makes me want to punch him in the face more in this entire league than Brad Marchand. And it's been something that has, like, ever since I was, like, 9 years old. Anyway, I just have always despised this man with, like, a burning passion, have hated him since I was a kid. Like, Bruins haunt me and have haunted my child. Like, Boston Bruins and the Leafs are the reason I have trust issues. But yeah, it was just like that whole sequence. Everything you see from that play is just a total breakdown from the Leafs. Nylander gets tangled up with Marchand at center ice. Somehow Marchand gets up faster than Nylander. Again, the camera cuts away so you don't really see it. And then Pasternak, Wool with the crazy save. Marchand gets the rebound, which, like, I'm like, if he, like, you know, you think about, like, how that almost probably was a highlight reel save had Marchand not been there. But then you also see, like, where was John Tavares? And then there's that clip of John Tavares on the back check. I get he's tired. I get it. Whatever. But I'm like, there's 6 seconds. There's, like, 10 seconds left of overtime. There's 10 seconds left of overtime. And a lot of people are like, oh, it's fine. Like, you know, it's a regular season game. Like, it's not that big. There's 10 seconds left of overtime. He's not going to go in the shootout unless it goes to round, like, 6 or 7, right?
Yeah.
Like, he's not high up on the chart of guys you're going to put out there for the shootout.
No.
Get the fuck back.
Exactly. It's like you have 10 seconds left. I don't care how tired you are. 10 fucking seconds. It's not hard. I don't
like, okay, you're tired, whatever. It's the end of overtime. You probably had a crazy long. Just fucking skate. At least show to make an effort.
It does look like
because that clip just makes him look awful. It makes him look awful. It's literally him standing there at the not even the blue line, at, like, the red line. Fucking just stand, you know, taking a couple steps and then not, like, just
like, if you give him it, let everyone know.
But yeah, so that's the game. Leafs still pick up a point, but of course it always sucks to lose to Boston, especially in that way. And then to look ahead for the Leafs, they have kind of a light schedule going now to our next episode on Thursday. They don't play any games till Thursday night in Ottawa. They get 4 days off now from Saturday to Thursday. Then they're back home to take on Nashville that Saturday. So they have, like, it's not crazy. They don't have a crazy December despite this. So think about it, like, Leafs had a kind of a not bad November schedule, have not an awful December schedule, but their January, February doesn't look great. Just at a glance. But yeah, so Ottawa, again, both Samsonov and Lagesson are out with an illness. Neither of them were at practice yesterday. And then also news from practice yesterday, Timothy Liljegren was out skating at Leafs practice yesterday. No timeline on his return yet, however. But, you know, so we'll see how Samsonov is feeling for Thursday. Obviously, if he's not feeling well enough to start, will be Woll getting the start. But at the same, like, then if he is well enough to start, like, then you have to start playing the question of who you're going to start against Ottawa. Ottawa, yes, hasn't been playing great, but they won against Seattle in their last game.
Yeah.
And so, and I always say this every time, and people are like, but, like, you know, what can you expect from an Ottawa Leafs game? Ottawa is always going to play well against Toronto, no matter how bad they're doing.
They always do.
Always do. Right? And so you have to expect it, and maybe you want to start Woll, but that would be his 6th start in a row. Yeah, so in his past 5 starts, again, that's his 5th game for Woll, again, was against Boston. His 5th game in a row for Woll for 30+ shots faced. Insanity. Those games have a 3-1-1 record, and he has a .909 save percentage. So
insane.
But so do you start him for 6 in a row? If you're Sheldon Keefe, do you start him over Samsonov against Ottawa, knowing how good Ottawa is against your team?
Right? I think at this point it's kind of like, unless Samsonov comes back and is just a completely different person, yeah, I think you kind of have to.
Especially because also as well, like, if Samsonov isn't feeling well until, like, Wednesday night, Thursday morning, like, you have to think about, like, it's Monday. If Samsonov doesn't feel well enough to practice tomorrow, do you play him? Or if he doesn't feel well, like, you have to think of, like, when he's good enough to come back to practice. If he doesn't come back to practice till Wednesday, Thursday morning skate, you can't start him. You can't start him.
You're basically throwing in someone who's not done anything for, nearly a week?
Yeah, nearly, like,
that's not. It's not going to end well for the team, and it's also very much not fair on him.
No.
To go, you've not played in a while.
You also been sick.
Ill.
You've been sick. You haven't been, like, feeling well. And I don't know about you. When I'm sick, I am, like, the
dead to the world.
I'm in bed.
I am very much not.
I'm in bed. Like, I am laying there. I am ordering food. Literally, I am sitting there. I've got Netflix open. Like, I am not going anywhere. So maybe hockey players are the same. Like, you know, I don't know, but it's a question for sure. It's definitely dependent on his status, and, you know, hopefully Lagesson as well feels better soon. You know, you hope there's not a bug going around this team, because that's
just what we need.
Because that was exactly, like, just what we need going into December is fucking half this team to get sick. You know, if you hope Lagesson plays well, but at the same time, then you're like, he's been playing really well too. Like, that's the thing where you have to take him out of and he's added some grit to this team as well. Yeah. Unexpectedly, Lagesson has added some grit to this blue line. So you take him out, you put Lajoie back in, and you're looking at a very weak bottom 4.
Yeah.
Because you've got Riley, Brody, McCabe, Timmins. Not that Timmins hasn't been playing well, but then you're like Lajoie and Benoit, and you're like, that's pretty weak. We also have a tweet, because, you know, just to spoil the mood before we were all hopeful about the Leafs playing Ottawa. There's a tweet by David Alter today, from this morning on the Leafs OT record and kind of what it means historically within the NHL. So the Leafs lead NHL in overtime instances this season with 11. He decided to take a look back all the way to 05-06 when the NHL got rid of ties to see how the teams who led the league in OT shootout count has fared, and, well, it's not good. There's been 3 teams going back to 05. It's not looking good. There are a lot of missed playoffs, a lot of first round exits. Yeah.
Mm.
There's not a lot of teams here with over 40 wins. So
yeah, it's not what you want to hear.
no, it's not. But also just for like, there's some of the numbers of overtimes that are taken looked at here is like around the 20s. You got the most I'm seeing here just on this quick list right now that I'm looking at is Detroit Red Wings with 29.
Oof.
Yeah, so not great.
No.
But we'll talk a trade. This happened. When did this happen? Like I think Friday morning, right? Nikita Zadorov announced was traded to Vancouver. Calgary Flames traded defenseman Nikita Zadorov to Vancouver for a 5th-round pick in the 2024 that they got from Chicago in the Anthony Beauvillier trade, and a 3rd-round pick in 2026. So they, again, very quickly spend that pick. Zadorov is a UFA after this season. In 21 games played for Calgary, is 1 goal, 5 assists. And a lot of people thought he was going to go for the Leafs. I mean, we're in those talks, but it was said that the Leafs would have required cap retention from Calgary. That was from Kevin Weeks. So they did have an offer on the table, but they would have required Calgary to retain some cap, some of that salary in order to fit under the cap, and hence why he went to Vancouver, because Vancouver was like, no, we don't need that. That's fine. We can take his whole salary. So now, there's rumors that Leafs are eyeing Chris Tanev, but, if Brad got to do something, if he wants to do anything with that defense, well, he's got Giordano out and Liljegren out. And
yeah, I think he's going to have to, do something soon, because I don't know how much more I can take, and I don't know how much more the team can take, because there's a limit to how long you can just happily play with a broken defense, and they're very much hitting the limit of what the fuck are we doing.
Yeah, and we saw that last season too with the Leafs when Morgan Riley was injured, and who a lot was Brody out as well for a bit too. So. Yeah, so it was literally at one point our defense was Mark Giordano, a couple Marlies, and a dream.
Single shred of hope.
Rasmus Sandin no, he wasn't hurt. He was healthy the whole time, and that's where he really shone, was when Riley was out, was Rasmus Sandin. And then, of course, we don't have him anymore. He's off in Washington.
Nope.
Kyle.
Fucking Kyle.
But yeah, so let's talk about, there was a trio of hat tricks on Thursday. Mitch Marner for Toronto, Tom Wilson for Washington, and Connor Dewar for Minnesota all scored hat tricks on Thursday. It was the first of both of the careers for Wilson in his 700th game of his career also, and Dewar and the second of his career for Marner. So we love it. Okay, anyways, ignoring Tom Wilson, we love when our little guys do well. The Minnesota Wild have become have a fond place in my heart, which is unexpected. I didn't really expect that this season, that I would become endeared by the Minnesota Wild, but I have. They have their little guys. They have, little guys there. Yeah. Speaking of, while we're on the topic of the Wild, we have an update on a story we covered last episode with Marc-Andre Fleury and his special mask design for Indigenous Celebration Night for the Minnesota Wild. It has raised, so the auction has closed, and it raised $35,100 for charity. All funds will go to the Prairie Island Indian community, which is local to where the Minnesota Wild play. So awesome. That's really great. That's a lot of money to go towards a community that really deserves it, and that's great. That's fantastic. Speaking of goalies, though, we have a goalie goal to announce. Yes. Tristan Jarry On Thursday versus the Tampa Bay Lightning, Tristan Jarry for Pittsburgh scores the first goalie goal of the season. It also was the first goalie goal in Pittsburgh Penguins history. The Penguins go on to win it 4-2 over Tampa that game. But yeah, it's also the first NHL goalie goal for Tristan Jarry. He had one. It's not his first professional one. He had one when he was in the AHL. But congratulations to Tristan Jarry. You just that whole team seemed so happy after the game. Like you got to smile. You got to smile out of Sidney Crosby in a post-game press conference. Do you know how hard that is to do? To get a smile out of Sidney Crosby.
It's like unheard of. It's like.
So, congrats. It's a lovely, lovely, good story. There was also another hat trick last night. Yeah, for Brad Marchand against Columbus Blue Jackets. And we're going to talk about hat tricks. Well, now we have a couple of extensions to talk about. On Thursday, this was Friday. I think I wrote this, but Sam Montembeault signs an extension. The Montreal Canadiens goalie signed a 3-year contract extension at a $3.15 million cap hit. In 10 games this year for the Habs, he has a 5.31 record, a 2.73 goals against average. Goals allowed against average, and then a 910 save percentage. The 27-year-old was drafted 77th overall by Florida in the 2015 draft. 113 career NHL games and has a career 3.42 goals against average and a .897 save percentage. He won gold at the World Championships with Team Canada this year. So a note though on that one is that there's no trade restrictions or no trade clauses on that contract. So a lot of people see him as an option for the Oilers, but it was announced on Saturday for Hockey Night in Canada by Elliot Friedman that Jack Campbell could see a return to the Oilers this week after a brief little conditioning stint. Is that what we would call it with their AHL in Bakersfield?
Yeah, I'm so happy.
But what a conditioning, like he seems to be playing really, really well in the AHL right now. So maybe if he comes, like that's of course. Oilers are probably still looking at trades as options, but you could potentially see that not Montembeault. Montembeault was just one of those names that was thrown around in maybe of something of a goalie that the Oilers could potentially make a trade for. Should they need one? We'll see. Who knows?
Yeah.
But
I think that's when Campbell was sent down, it was miserable for him. He did not have a good few games. And then I think after like the 21st of November, I want to say, it started to like look good, and he's had like some really good games. He won Saturday night, won 4-6.
That's good.
He's doing really well, and I'm very happy for him. I want him back because I miss him, and I miss the fact that I can't watch AHL games.
Oh, they're so hard to watch. Even here, like for me, like I'm like at this point, it's easier for me to take a train down to like Belleville or Toronto and watch like the Marlies or like the Belleville Senators or something in person than it is for me to watch them like a stream of them. And then we have another extension as well that was announced today. Nino Niederreiter. I love saying its name. I have so much fun with it. Nino Niederreiter. Signed a contract extension with the Winnipeg Jets. The defenseman signed a 3-year, $12 million contract extension that has a $4 million annual cap hit. In 23 games, he has 6 goals, 8 assists with the team. The 31-year-old Swiss-born player was drafted 5th overall by the New York Islanders in 2010. And it's the same cap hit as his current contract. It's just essentially an extension. He was traded to Winnipeg for a second-round pick in this year's draft from Nashville last year, right around just before actually the trade deadline, early February, and kind of the Predators were struggling to make to get into a playoff spot, and he wasn't quite playing as well. And I think it does a good job to lock down some like defensive leadership for the Jets, and just something to announce. We haven't gotten no exciting contract extensions yet, but just ones we probably should have talked about. Now to get into something very exciting though, that I feel like we should spend a little bit of time discussing. League mother Tyson Barrie. Certified mother Tyson Barrie has been given permission by the Nashville Predators to speak with other teams for the purpose of either to sign a contract with them or for a trade. Tyson Barrie has been Barrie was a healthy scratch versus the New York Rangers, and is an unrestricted free agent next year. It allows both team and player to look elsewhere for options for next season or even this season if he does get a trade. And this year for Nashville, he has in 22 games played, he has 0 goals, 9 assists. I would know because he's on my fantasy team. and I might actually, because now that Shabbat is back from injury, I might actually have to drop him so I can activate Shabbat off of IR because I'm like, I need the
I mean, you can't drop the league mill.
I don't know who else to get rid of though, because I have I need to actually do, yeah. He was traded to Nashville from Edmonton for Matthias Ekholm last season. Of course, always former Leaf legend.
Bring him home.
So I bring him home. So I do I wonder where would he? I don't know where he would. A lot of people at the same if he hasn't already played for Edmonton, I feel like you would be saying Edmonton, but would he go back to Edmonton? Chances are, I don't know, he re-signs, and this discussion that we're about to have is all for nothing. It's very curious to see where he will end up. In his future, in his career, will we see a trade this season? Who knows? That would be more of a trade. That would be him wanting out of Nashville, right? That's what that trade would be. He would speak to his agent, be like, they've given me permission. Let's see, reach out at other teams. And it would be then a team reaching out to the Predators being like, hey, we'll do this for Barrie. He's 32 years old, right? So, he's not exactly looking for an 8-year contract.
Yeah.
Hold on, I'm just trying to find his cap friendly. Jesus Christ, there we go. So we'll see. It's interesting to see where, a lot of people, maybe the Jets, who knows.
I don't want to do that to him.
He's currently sitting at a 4.5 cap hit. So he would make more in the minors this year. Anyway. he would make more playing in the minors than he would in the NHL this year. I'm just looking at his cap friendly page right now. But that's his current contract. So it'll be interesting to see where he would end up. I mean, who knows?
It could be anywhere.
It could be anywhere. That's the thing. There hasn't really been a name that has been one of the wins where it's he could end up here, but it's something definitely to keep in mind of when we go into more contract extensions, that we might not actually see one for Tyson Barrie from the Nashville Predators this season. He might be a free agent and be part of that free agency frenzy in July. So who knows? Hopefully Twitter doesn't break down again like it did last year, and I have to sit there and find out that Michael Bunting went to Carolina.
No, because do you know I had to find out that we had lost Justin Hall because someone tagged me in it. Someone tagged me in a screenshot and just went, "At 60 Leafs, I'm so sorry." And I was sat there, I was at my grandma's house. I was having dinner with my grandma.
And you just get that.
I just get someone saying, "I'm so sorry," and I'm like, "Oh my fuck, they've got rid of him." Like, I didn't even want to say. I knew. I was like, "Oh my god, we've just lost Justin Hall." I was sat on the sofa, like trying not to cry.
I was sitting. I was in my kitchen making cookies because I was going to my boyfriend's. I was going to my boyfriend Simon's place to meet. I think it was. Was it to meet his parents for the first time, or it was dinner with his parents?
Oh my god.
Oh no. Yes, I think it was to meet them for the first time. I think to have not to have dinner with them for the first time, and I literally found out that like Michael Bunting left, Justin Hall left, Kerfoot left. Like how many of those guys left on like signed July 1st?
It was a dark day.
Like that whole whatever, and I'm sitting there like nearly on my knees in my kitchen, and I was trying to read like it was like tweet. I had like Sportsnet, like the like free agency, their like free agency show going. I think, and like Twitter wasn't working, so I know a lot of people were watching like the Bar Down fucking live stream.
It was. I think I ended up watching the hockey guy. I was like.
Like everyone was trying to get their news in a different way. We were all trying to find workarounds to Twitter like being broken and only learning like, and then I had to like walk through the rain. Like it was raining that day and I had to walk to the O train in the rain. I was like, oh my god. Like it was like July 1st.
I never want to experience that ever
I
again.
never want to go that. No, that's why I'm like, oh my god, I'm so glad. Like, you know what? Trades. When I was a kid and watching like Trade Center and watching like the free agency stuff on TSN, like I was like, this. I couldn't imagine doing it any other way. I couldn't imagine trying to find information out on Twitter. Like, no. But yeah, we have one more news, and then I hope you have a fun this. I mean, I guess this is kind of a fun story to talk about. But just we have a couple more things to end off the show, and then I think Marcie has a fun little happy story. Do you this episode? Do you have this week?
I don't know actually. I've been very busy, so I've not had
time to search one out. But so
we'll have a quick look.
News today. So this news came from a couple days ago, and then there's more news today. So a couple days ago, it was confirmed that the IIHF has decided to make it mandatory for players to wear neck protection at the World Junior Championship and at the Men's U18 Championship. And then at the time, they hadn't decided on senior World Championships. But today it was announced that they had decided that neck protection is also mandatory for players at all IIHF events. So that includes the senior world, like the World Championships, the Women's World Championships, everything, neck protection must be worn, which is awesome. That's great.
Yeah.
That's really great. Hopefully then we see those rules maybe come over to the NHL eventually. This is slow. So we don't, I'm not that I'm expecting, that to be happen in the next couple of months, but maybe that's something that, we see that in the future. Maybe that's something that gets changed during the off season this year. Or something, there definitely will be a grandfather rule in the same way of helmets during warmups and face shield during games. There will be definitely like a grandfather rule for that. But yeah, so I think it's great that that's happening. Definitely something at the World Juniors that's important for sure, especially because those players are so young. That starts Boxing Day. But yeah, even just at the World Championships, maybe then, players will play with the players who go to the World Championships, like NHL players who go to the World Championships will wear it, realize it's not that big of a deal, and come back and continue to wear it in NHL games.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. Turtlenecks look great under hockey jerseys.
They do.
If you need any suggestions. Some other news, because there's, Leafs games don't play till Thursday. There is a hockey their game that I feel like a lot of people are going to be tuned into tomorrow, though, however, because it is the Hughes brothers matchup tomorrow. A date I'm sure a lot of people have had circled and read on their calendar.
Oh, yeah.
So it'll be, there was a couple of articles about that, not more of that, where it was, I think, I think of note in that article was mentioned was like the first time that Luke Hughes was going to get to play against Quinn, which is special.
Aww.
That is really special. That's really sweet. They talked about it. I'm not one of those people who thinks that they should all be playing on the same team because as an older sibling, I would I would hate it if I had to play on the same hockey team as my sister.
Quinn would fucking rip his hair out.
Like, a lot of people are like, but like, oh, they're so sad that they don't get to play together on the same day. I was like, honestly, I'm sure Quinn's probably glad because if I had to, because I know, I don't know about you, but this is a relationship I have with my sister where I think we're probably just about like the same age gap. There's 2.5 years between us, so just right around where the Hughes brothers are, kind of.
That's
similar, right? I would fucking hate having to see my sister, having to probably live with my sister because I'm sure Jack and Luke live together. Having to drive my sister everywhere because we work together. And like if I had to see my sister, like I love my sister, I really do. But if I'm 20 now, if I had to see my sister still every single day and had to work with her, I'm sorry, I'd go insane. We'd bicker over everything. We get along. I love her. She's my sister, but we bicker over everything. We argue over a lot of things. I feel like no one would want us to be on the same hockey team.
No, it's like that's the same age gap with me and my sister. She's 2.5 years younger. And like it was bad enough when I played at the same hockey club as her. Like I did that for because obviously like I joined the club and then she joined because I joined. And then I think we've played on at the same club for 2 different teams now. And it's like that was bad enough. Never mind, like if I were to play on the same team as her, I would.
No, I've coached my sister's. I've coached my sister ski racing. Something I do not recommend for anyone to do. I just happened to be coaching like her age group, so I was coaching her for skiing, and I didn't even really coach her that much. I was very good in making sure that I wasn't, you know, like I was still coaching her, like I wasn't totally ignoring her, but I was very good at making sure like I wouldn't give her too much to work on because I knew if it came from me, she would not listen to me. So there was often times where I would like turn to one of the other coaches I was working with where I was like, hey, next time my sister comes around, hey, could you tell her to work on this? But don't tell her it came from me. Say you came up with it. Because if it comes from me, she's not going to fucking do it. Because it's my, like, that's where it's like, you know, and I get whatever, like, you know, it's nice to play with your brother, but like, I honestly don't blame Quinn for enjoying living in Vancouver. Like, a lot of people are like, oh, but like, what if they, and I was like, guys, they probably enjoy, like, you know, they probably enjoy not having to see each other. Like FaceTime is a wonderful thing that exists where they can still talk to each other.
Exactly. Like it just makes it a lot nicer when they actually do get to spend time with each other.
Yeah.
Because like now I'm at uni. I've been home less. I've not been home since August. So it's like I've seen my sister once since August. So it's gonna be nice to actually go get to see her over Christmas.
Oh yeah, no, exactly. Like it makes the time that we are together like that much more pleasant for our parents to experience as well. Because we don't argue as much because I don't see her all the time, so she doesn't get on my nerves all the time. But like, yeah. Anyways, it also makes for special games like this where they do play each other, and it's, you know, a fun thing to watch and that sort of thing. And also like, you know, they don't all have to play on the same team. Like it's fine, and it makes it special when they do play on the same team at world events. I don't like if NHLers go to the Olympics. I'm sure there's a shoe-in for a couple of them to be on that roster. Quinn and Jack for sure. Right? It's like, you know, you got the half your roster is just gonna be brothers. You got that's like 4 players right there. Starting lineup.
Fucking brothers.
Throwing I don't know, throwing fucking who on defense to, I don't know. I actually don't know an American That's so bad. I can't think of an American defender off it. Justin Hall. No. I can't. Justin Hall's not going to the fucking Olympics. Sorry, Justin.
Justin Hall to the Olympics.
I was like trying to think off the top of my head. I was like, who's an American defenseman who would be going to the Olympics? Who's good enough for that? And I honestly blank. Totally blank. and there's probably about
Only
5
answer is
people.
Justin Hall.
There's probably about 5 people. There's probably people who are like yelling at their phones or whatever. I'm like of listing like 5 players right off the bat who it would be, and I honestly blanked. All I can think about is like Canadian defensemen right now off the top of my head. But I don't know. Do you have anything to add? I don't know. If we want to talk about Buffalo's goaltending one more time.
That's quite literally. I've got a little section just Marcie Sabres waffle. And I can end it. I can end the Sabres on a happy note for once.
Finish off the show with some Buffalo Sabres for like the 3rd episode in a row.
First of all, I'm gonna complain for a minute because the Sabres keep losing, and everyone at the start they were like, oh, it's the goalies, fucking Luukkonen, and I'm like, okay, Luukkonen is your best goalie, so do not fucking say anything about him. Like the other day, I think it was, I don't know when they played the Blues, but they lost 6-4, and even after watching them lose 6-4, you could not fault Luukkonen for it, because it would have been so much worse had he not been playing. So it's gone beyond being a goaltending issue, and it's now just where the fuck are the Sabres? Because they're not on the ice. They're not. They're not. And it's like, I've literally just got here. The Sabres are hanging the goalies out to dry, like, massively. And it's hard to watch, because then it's like, you've basically, like, I love Luukkonen in Buffalo, but at the same time, I think he'd really benefit from going somewhere else, because he wouldn't have to basically deal with the state of the Sabres at the moment, because it is miserable, and it's hard to watch, because you know he's trying his hardest and then not helping him at all. So that was my little complaint. But then onto a happier note, Devon Levi, everything, literally half the tweets I sent to the little like,
it's just Devon Levi stats. I can guarantee you that it's just Devon Levi stats.
Campbell stats. It's literally all just goalies, which says a lot about me.
We're changing the podcast name to From the Crease instead of From the Fourth Line.
But yeah, Devon Levi, in his AHL debut, won 3-2. He saved 40 saves on 42 shots, which brings him out at 952 save percentage, which is insane.
That's very good.
He saved all 4 shots in the shootout. It went to a shootout, and he saved like, that is that's an incredible AHL debut. This is what happens.
This is what happens when you develop goaltenders by having them play in the NHL. Who would have thought?
It's a miracle.
There's the very great picture of him in the locker room after the game, because I guess they have like the eagle head that they put on, like, player of the game type thing, and he's there standing like spread eagle, and I sent it to you. I was like, this is Joseph Woolcott, because it's like the goalie and like full goalie gear. He's still in his gear, like, with a giant eagle head on his head, which is reference to Joseph Wool's goalie mask designs that tend to, ever since his time with Boston College, feature an eagle. A lot of people think it's because he's American. It's not. It's because of the mascot of Boston College being the Eagles.
Yeah.
So it's a nod to his time that he spent in college, playing in the NCAA. Continue.
And just to round it all off with a happy little, Devon Levi got the second AHL star of the night on Friday for that. Look at him go. I'm so happy that the Sabres finally went, you know what, maybe what we're doing isn't working out. Let's develop our goalie.
Who would have thought that player development actually works? Hey, like,
Yes.
this is something where I'm like, a lot of people who are like, oh, a lot of people, Edmonton Oilers are another case of this. They're like, why are like all of like the Sabres and like the Edmonton Oilers like draft picks kind of bust? I'm like, guys, because like player development is something that exists. And like, okay, yes, maybe I would not have picked a couple of, what Edmonton has picked for a couple of their first overall picks through the years. 2012 is a Nail Yakupov is another one where I'm like, that was a choice. But definitely something where it's like player development is so important, and player development also isn't something that stops when you make it to the NHL. It's something that continues, and it's something that continues for most of your career. You as players develop, no matter where they are in their stage. I'm sure Mark Giordano could tell you that at age 40 that he is still not developing in the sense of getting but his game is changing, and so that's still development. Yeah, and he's 40 years old, so it's definitely stuff like that where, and you see it with like guys like Sidney Crosby where
it worked,
but like you also see it in the way that he develops his game even at the NHL level. Like it seems like every season he had something that was really good when he started in the NHL, right? But it comes like every off season he seems to pick one thing that he wants to get better at, and he does. And then he comes back in October at the start of the season, and he's like added another thing to his arsenal of like his like toolkit of things to use in a game, and it's incredible to watch. And you want that, and like for goalies that's important. So just player development. We never cannot talk about player development. It's so
especially not when I'm involved.
No, like I have coaching experience, so I know how athlete development works. I've coached ski racing for years, and it's something like that. Like different sport, same concept. So like you see it even now where it's like I will say it myself, like my skiing has improved even after I've stopped racing, and it's like that's because even though I'm still coaching, I'm still doing the drills that I'm making my kids do. Like I'm still getting better, and that's just how life works, right? So who knew? Surprise!
Who would have thought?
Who would have thought? I feel like we talk about this every episode, though.
Oh yeah.
We need to.
It's a common theme.
Yeah, it's a common theme. I think we've covered everything, though. I can't really. There's nothing left on our little list of topics to talk about. So yeah. Enjoy. There's quite a few hockey games on tonight. A big Battle of Pennsylvania matchup with Flyers and Pittsburgh at 7. I guess if you guys wanted to, I think I'll tune into that one. Just because none of the other games really appease to me. Like I looked at the list and I was like, I don't really feel like watching any of these other ones. I'll watch Pittsburgh and Philadelphia.
Yeah.
But yeah, so thank you. That was another wonderful episode of From the Fourth Line. My name is Emma. I was joined by Marcie. You can follow the show on Twitter at From the Fourth Line. You can follow either of us individually at PairB1 and at 60 Leafs on Twitter. And you can find us now basically wherever you get your podcast. Follow if you don't already follow the show. Give us 5 stars. And yeah, we'll see you on Thursday prior to the Leafs.
On Thursday.
Prior to the Leafs taking on the Ottawa Senators in Ottawa.